Gordon eventually sold his house and moved away. The rest of the HOA tried to act tough for a while, but after a few months, they accepted it. The shooting range was there to stay. I even let them use it once a year for their stupid community festival, but they had to pay me rent. And every time they handed over that check, they remembered exactly what they'd done to my father. In the weeks that followed, I watched the HOA crumble from the inside. Gordon had been their enforcer, the one who went around threatening families, handing out fines for stupid things, like mailbox paint or too many flower pots. Without him, they were lost. People who'd been terrified of speaking up before started finding their voice. They showed up at board meetings, questioning every expense, demanding to see receipts, asking who'd voted for these endless citations. I think a lot of folks had tolerated the HOA because they didn't want trouble. But once they saw my father nearly killed over hedge height, something shifted. Nobody wanted to be next. Meanwhile, the shooting range took off in ways I hadn't imagined. At first I thought it would just be me, Dad, and a couple of our buddies. But soon I had to post hours, add more benches, and even build a second berm for backstops. People came from miles away, drawn by the idea of a place that was built by someone who'd been wronged and refused to back down. We had families come out for safety classes, veterans teaching kids how to respect a firearm, retired cops volunteering their time. It was like a living memorial to freedom and self-defense. Every Saturday, the sounds of steady target practice filled the air, echoing across the HOA's manicured lawns. Of course, the HOA tried one more desperate stunt. They went after my father. They filed some ridiculous claim that he was a danger to the community, that he was mentally unfit to be around firearms because of his age. They even tried to get the county to do a wellness check, suggesting he was unstable. It made me sick. Dad was sharper than half their board members. When the sheriff's deputy showed up, Dad sat on his porch with Buddy, our family dog, calmly drinking coffee. He invited the deputy to come shooting sometime. No charges, no problems. The deputy even laughed and wished Dad good luck. That backfired on the HOA so hard, people actually started calling in to ask if they could support us. I got emails from gun rights groups, veterans organizations, even a couple local politicians who wanted to shake my hand. The HOA realized they'd poked a hornet's nest. I kept the range open 7 days a week. My buddy from the big outdoor club showed me how to run range safety drills, keep the place clean, make sure every rule was followed. I was determined not to give those HOA snakes any excuse to shut me down. Meanwhile, Dad healed. He started putting on weight again, sleeping through the night, walking stronger every day. Sometimes I caught him just standing by the firing line, looking out across the property, smiling like he'd been reborn. That's what made it all worth it. One afternoon, a young mother came out with her teenage daughter. She pulled me aside, whispering, "My ex used to beat us. I'm tired of being afraid. Can you teach us how to shoot?" I swallowed hard. Of course, I told her. That's what we're here for. Dad came over and showed the girl how to load the .22, same as he had for me decades ago. He taught her how to breathe, how to stand, how to respect the weapon. By the end of the afternoon, she was smiling, proud. That was the moment I realized this place wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about freedom. Summer turned to fall, and the HOA's grip on the neighborhood shriveled away. People started ignoring the more ridiculous rules, and nobody showed up to enforce them. The fines dried up. The board's power crumbled. Gordon, who'd moved out by then, tried to stir up trouble on social media, but nobody cared. His voice had lost all its sting. A year after Dad was attacked, I held a community event at the range. Free lessons, food, music, even a bounce house for the kids. Dad made a little speech. He stood there in front of maybe 100 people, American flag rippling behind him, a tear rolling down his weathered cheek. "You stood up for me," he told them, "and you showed me that standing up matters." I won't ever forget that. He raised his coffee cup in a toast to freedom and 100 voices answered him back. I looked over at Gordon's old house, which had been bought by a nice couple with 3 kids. They'd hung their own American flag over the porch. Nobody bothered them about it. Nobody would ever bother them again. Liberty Range, that is what I denamed it, got so popular that I started thinking about adding a classroom for hunter safety courses, maybe even some competitions. We had folks offering to donate targets, benches, clay throwers. Dad laughed when I told him. "You built all this because of a hedge," he teased. I shrugged. "Sometimes a hedge is the hill you die on," I told him. We both laughed until we couldn't breathe. By Christmas, Dad was healthier than he'd been in years. One night, he stood on my porch, Buddy at his side, and looked out across the old HOA green space, now covered in target lanes, safety berms, and a little American flag flying on a new pole. "Feels like justice," he said. I nodded. "It is," I told him, "and it always will be." Spring brought even more people to Liberty Range. I had a small office built at the back of the property with a whitewashed sign that read, "Liberty Range, standing up for freedom" underneath. In smaller letters, I'd added, "In honor of all who refuse to bow." Every time Dad saw that sign, he'd grin ear to ear. One Saturday morning, a group of retired Marines pulled in with their trucks, offered to help teach classes. They said they'd heard about Dad, about Gordon, about how this place was started, and they wanted to back us up. We put them straight to work. They ran safety briefings, helped new shooters, even organized a youth air rifle team for kids who couldn't handle larger calibers yet. Pretty soon, Liberty Range wasn't just a shooting spot, it was a community.